Yo guys, what's going on? It's your boy Headband J coming back at y'all with an NBA mock draft. So basically in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down for you guys how I think the draft is going to go, who's going to be drafted 1st through 14th. I'm just doing the first 14 picks because that technically is the lottery. Excluding the Celtics, all of these teams didn't make the playoffs, and so I think that this year's draft is pretty good. It has a decent level of talent. Definitely not as talented as the 2021 draft is going to be, but nonetheless, I think that there are going to be some really solid players coming out of this draft. So let's get right into it. With the first pick in the 2020 NBA draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves will select Lamelo Ball from the Illawarra Hawks in Chino Hills, California. Now you might be saying to yourself, why would I put Lamelo this high? And it's not because I'm some kind of fanboy of him. It's not because I think he's the best player in this draft. There's a lot of unknowns with Lamelo. We don't know if he can actually play defense. We don't know if he can consistently shoot at the next level. You know, we know that he's a great passer, but when it comes to most other parts of his game, we don't know if he has a high motor, and if he will be able to sustain himself as an NBA player. In my opinion, he might need a month or two in the G League, and if he's really built for this, he will show out in the G League and then be moved to the NBA quickly. However, I do feel that there is a chance that he could be a massive bust. Now, the reason why I'm putting him at number 1 is because the Timberwolves need clout. They have lacked viewership, jersey sales. They haven't been very popular. The Timberwolves are desperate to get people to watch them. And to me, it doesn't matter that the Timberwolves already have D'Angelo Russell. I really do believe that they're going to take Melo number 1 overall. With the second pick in the 2020 NBA draft, the Golden State Warriors will select James Wiseman from the University of Memphis. James Wiseman is easily one of the safest picks in this draft. I believe at his ceiling, he's an all-star, maybe even someone you could eventually put into the MVP race. And at his floor, at his basement, he's a rotation big man. I don't see any chance of this guy busting. He has a very solid game inside and out, and I think he's a safe pick, and the Warriors need a big man that can offer consistent scoring and rim protection, and I think James Wiseman does that for them. He's definitely, in my opinion, considering that Wiseman is a big man and that basketball is a tall man's sport, I think that James Wiseman is the safest pick in this draft. With the third pick in the 2020 NBA draft, the Charlotte Hornets select Anthony Edwards from the University of Georgia. Now, I know that there are several draft boards who have Anthony Edwards going first overall. However, I don't feel that he's going to land at that first overall spot. I think he's going to slide down to either the third or the fourth spot. However, if he is available at 3, I know that for sure the Hornets will take him. Now, he's a really great shot maker. There have been some comparisons to Andrew Wiggins, maybe about how high his motor is, and I don't know, that he to me, he's a great scorer, but he just doesn't stand out to me that much. I don't really know how greatly he can impact a game. I think college made him look better than he actually is. No disrespect, just telling you how I see it. Anthony Edwards is a guy who I can't see becoming an MVP. I see him as just a pure scorer type of player, but I don't see him as the kind of guy who can lead a team, but that's just me. And with the fourth pick in the 2020 NBA draft, the Chicago Bulls will select Deni Avdija from Israel. So I've seen some footage of this guy playing. He impresses me a lot with his passing. I think he has a supernatural feel for the game. He's not a good shooter. However, I really think that he could be a good international NBA player. And I think the current GM of the Bulls is a former GM of the Nuggets. And if you guys know anything about the Nuggets, they love international players. That's why they drafted guys like Jokic and Juancho Hernan-Gomez. So I think that the Bulls are going to take a shot on Deni Avdija here, and they're going to go ahead and select him. And with the fifth pick in the 2020 NBA draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to select Obi Toppin, the hometown kid. So there's a couple reasons why I think the Cavs are going to do this. One, because I think Obi Toppin is another very solid player who I think at his ceiling, He is an all-star, and at his basement, he's a good rotational player. You know, he's a guy who's ready to contribute to an NBA team right now. He has the strength to do it. You know, he has a good basketball IQ. You know, he has the scoring ability to do it. And I think that the Cavs are going to go ahead and select former Dayton Flyer. And yeah, I just think it's a good match and it makes sense. You know, it'll also be able to bring fans into the games because a lot of people who like Dayton are going to want to watch the Cavs because of that. With the 6th pick in the 2020 NBA Draft, the Atlanta Hawks will select Tyrese Halliburton from Iowa State. So Tyrese Halliburton, you know, he played 2 years in college, 20 years old, really good, lanky scorer. I just think that this just makes the most sense for the Hawks. Halliburton is going to be a guy who can stretch the floor for them with his shooting ability, and I think a trio of Trae Young, John Collins, and Halliburton just makes a lot of sense for what they're trying to do, and I think that this will help the Hawks out a lot. With the 7th pick in the 2020 NBA Draft, the Detroit Pistons are going to select Isaac Okoro of the University of Auburn. Now, Isaac Okoro is a high motor player. You know, he's a guy who's going to bring a lot of energy. He's just someone who refuses to lose, and I think that the Pistons just like him. And I think that he's going to be a really, really solid NBA player. With the 8th pick in the 2020 NBA Draft, the New York Knicks will select Killian Hayes from France. Now, Killian Hayes is a very, very intriguing prospect just because he's another one of these guys who's been playing professionally since he was 16, and he was able to hold his own. I know this last season in the league that in the professional league that he played in, he averaged 12 points per game. I have read some reports that his athleticism might be lacking a little bit, but we all know that if you can play the right way and manipulate the game, you don't need athleticism. So I'm really interested to see how he will turn out, and the Knicks do need a point guard, so if their front office is smart, which they are not, they will take Killian Hayes. But I think the Knicks are going to have a breakthrough this year. I think that they understand that they need another guard to pair along with RJ Barrett, and I think that they're going to take Killian Hayes at number 8. With the 9th pick in the 2020 NBA Draft, I believe that the Washington Wizards are going to select Patrick Williams from Florida State. Now, when you look at Patrick Williams' stats, he's not a guy that jumps off the stat sheet, but he can shoot, he plays defense, he can bully people inside. I know that there are several other bigger players or forwards in this draft. However, I believe that at this spot, if Patrick Williams is available, he will be drafted by the Wizards. With the 10th pick in the 2020 NBA Draft, the Phoenix Suns will select Onyeka Okongwu from USC. Some of you guys may remember Onyeka for his nickname Big O in his Chino Hills days. He played very, very well in high school. You know, he got to play on one of the best teams in the country. I think he won one national championship with Chino Hills, and then they dropped divisions and they ended up winning another championship as well with him and he was their best player after Lamelo left. Okongwu, he lacks a little bit in size, however he's a very, very solid player. I'd consider that he's a safe pick. You know he's going to play defense, he's going to rebound, he's going to play his role correctly. Again, another guy who I think at his ceiling he's an all-star, at his basement he's a good rotational player. So I think that this is a safe pick, and the Suns are going to go ahead and draft some young talent that they will be able to pair with Chris Paul and Devin Booker. With the 11th pick in the 2020 NBA Draft, the San Antonio Spurs will select Saddiq Bey from Villanova. Saddiq Bey is a third-year college player who can just kind of do it all, and that he comes from Villanova, a very, very structured basketball school. It's a very classic college basketball program, and I think that any team that Saddiq Bey goes to, he's going to be good because he's just that kind of player. However, I think he just fits perfectly with the Spurs, and I think with some of the other bigger names in this draft, he's going to slide, and I think the Spurs are just going to pick him up right away. And with the 12th pick in the 2020 NBA Draft, the Sacramento Kings are going to select Devin Vassell of Florida State. Now, Vassell is a guy who can really stretch the floor. As I'm looking at his stats here, there's one game where he went 7 for 7 from 3, and he's definitely more of a lanky player. He's a 6'6", 180-pound shooting guard. But I just think overall, he could be a really, really stretch the floor, catch and shoot kind of player who with his wingspan and with his height could maybe even develop into a good defender, and I believe that the Sacramento Kings will take him at this spot. And with the 13th pick in the 2020 NBA Draft, the New Orleans Pelicans will select Jalen Smith of the University of Maryland. Now, Jalen Smith is another high motor player. He's a guy who's going to try to score inside a lot. He's a guy in college who was able to average a double-double, so you know he's going to play hard on the defensive end. He averaged 2 blocks per game, so he's really going to add to the defense. He's probably not going to score as much in the NBA, but for every single game that he played in college, this guy was an automatic double-double. So I think he is the best available player at this spot, and I think the Pelicans could use a solid pick like this, and they will go ahead and choose Jalen Smith with that 13th pick. And rounding out the lottery with the 14th pick, the Boston Celtics will select Cole Anthony from the University of North Carolina. Now, Cole Anthony had a bad year in college. However, I feel like this was a fluke year. You have to remember the entire UNC team was bad last year. This was not just a problem with Cole Anthony. They had injuries. This was, I think, Roy Williams' first losing season in like 20 or 30 years with the program. So that entire program had problems. You know, I watched Cole Anthony, and at the beginning of the last season, he was balling out. He was balling out for real. He was scoring 30, 40-point games, stuff like that, and I was really impressed with his ability with his bag, how many moves he had in his bag. I know as the season progressed, he had some very bad performances. I know he missed some time, but I'd say considering all of that, and I know that he didn't shoot the best either, but we see that from a lot of guys in college. So I think Cole Anthony might arguably be one of those guys that when people look back in a couple years, they're going to be like, damn, he really should have been drafted higher. He should have been in the top 5. Because if you go back to before he went off to college, pretty much everyone had him projected in the top 5. And I understand the concerns that people have. However, I feel that his year at UNC wasn't completely telling of what was going on. I don't think he got worse. You know, you don't get worse by going to a Division I program. I think he only got better. And with a guy like him, with the kind of drive that he has, and, you know, I mean, a lot of people watch him throughout high school. He's a very competitive player. I think he's going to have a great NBA career, and I think he's going to be one of those guys who, in a few years, people are going to look back and say, wow, how was he not drafted higher? And I think the Celtics are going to get a steal here. And yeah, guys, so that's my mock draft, at least for the lottery. I didn't have time to go through all the picks, and I don't have time to study that much basketball anyways. You know, this was just kind of a last-minute video. I just figured since the draft is coming up tomorrow, I almost forgot that the draft was tomorrow, I would throw this together. I didn't do an insane amount of research. This is just going with my gut feeling, and from what I've seen, I'd say that most of these picks make sense. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and let's see how many I get right. With all it being said, this is your boy Headband J signing out.